You want to play guitar like...
Wait a minute. Play guitar like Bocchi the Rock. We got this black Les Paul custom with the gold hardware. Sweet. So, 440. All right. Sweet. Thank you, Dragonfly. So let's check this out.
That's how you play octave chords. The next technique is all in the picking hand, and it's called tremolo picking. Now, a brief overview of what tremolo picking is.
All right.
Let's say you have a BPM of something like that. You would generally just try and play as fast as you can within that BPM. For example, it's not like 16th notes strictly, it's a lot more chaotic than that. You're literally just trying to play as fast as you can, whilst also feeling the actual rhythm of that BPM.
So
to put it into an example, let's play the Cara Cara pre-chorus again, which sounds like this.
Holy crap!
If you do that without the tremolo picking, and you just go straight like 8th notes or something, it's a...
Wow. It's a little harder on acoustic. Dude, that's a big jump. Going from 7 to up an octave to the next B. That's a pretty intense guitar riff for playing octaves and tremolo picking the whole time. That's insane.
A lot less chaotic sounding. It adds so much energy when you just play it as fast as you can. Here's another example of when it's used in a chorus section. Again, if you don't play it with the tremolo picking technique, it sounds like this.
That is really... That's hard to tremolo pick 2 notes at the same time. I'm also using a really fat pick for bass. I can't find my guitar picks.
This technique really adds a lot of unpredictable, chaotic and explosive energy to Bocchi's guitar playing, but it can also be used in bursts. It doesn't have to be used like as an entire phrase. It can be like on the tail end of something, for example. So if you take the live guitar solo, she actually starts out with like 16th note or 8th note picking, and then it goes into the tremolo picking, which sounds like this. So it starts without the tremolo picking, but then transitions into it as it gets towards the end and gives it a lot more of a crescendo effect. The next technique I want to talk about is the use of incorporating open strings into a melody. You can hear that in the end of Cara Cara, for example, here. Or in the guitar solo of that band. So for that example, we're actually...
The open strings are like totally a guitar trick to just make riffs that sound cooler. You know, Thunderstruck, a lot of Rush will do it too. Or at least YYZ, you know, I don't remember how to play it, but it's a really cool technique to you know, make cool sounding licks, and you can play them faster because you only have to fret half the notes.
Actually bouncing off the open G as opposed to the open B like we did in Cara Cara. It's also used in the end of the guitar solo in Never Forget. I think that it adds quite a strong blues inspiration into her playing. I just think it's quite nice as opposed to something being quite static or like... Like it highlights the direction that the melody is heading in as like the interval grows smaller and smaller, like in that example. My advice for including this into your playing is if you're playing in the key of E minor, for example, there are 3 strings that you could potentially build this around, which are the E, B, and G. And then if you have like more chords coming in, maybe you're playing E, G, C. If you play the B there, it might have a semitone clash from the C chord. Maybe it'll sound cool, but just for this instance, it's the open G that's always ringing out in those chords. So for example, that melody would fit really well, and that would be a Bocchi technique. And if you want to go a step further and mix together the last 2 techniques, which is including tremolo picking, you could get something similar to this.
Nice.
Which sounds a little...
Oh, so he's like literally teaching us how to compose like Bocchi the Rock rather than just cover the music. That's cool. Anyway.
A little bit more Bocchi than before.
This is fun.
The next technique is something called unison bends, which sounds like this.
Oh yeah.
To play...
I don't know if I can even play that on acoustic. Yeah, maybe if I go up to the... Yeah, acoustics have a lot tighter, like these are pretty thick strings. And they're, you know, a lot of acoustics are a lot harder to bend the strings on.
Unison bend, let's say you're playing 5th fret of the B. You would then play a note which is 2 semitones down from the root note on the lowest string below it. So for example, this is 7th on the G. So if you just play the same note on 2.
This is a really common trick in rock music. Like, Choose Me. That's what Konami's doing. The, was it? You know, the... Oh yeah, I'm not in drop D. But she's actually doing the... What is the bend? Anyway, yeah, that's what she's doing in that. Or like Beverly Hills by Weezer. Anyway, it's a pretty common thing in rock music.
On the G. So if you just play the same note on 2 strings, you go 2 semitones below the root, which is 5 and 7 on the G. 5 on the B, 7 on the G. And then you bend up that 7th fret until the pitch is unison. You can do this 5 on the high E, 8 on the B. And you only pretty much use them in those positions. You don't use them on the D because it gets a bit awkward. Then you basically do it on the B and G or the E and B. Some examples of where Bocchi uses this is the chorus to that band.
Dude, super impressive this guy that has learned all these Bocchi the Rock songs. Like, they're pretty intricate, complex guitars. Or, you know, guitar parts, composition-wise. So it'd be a lot to learn.
She also uses tremolo picking in that example as well. She also uses these at the start of guitar solos from Station Complex and Never Forget. Sounds like this.
He's made covers of all of them? That makes sense.
So you can use them to kind of just suddenly come in and introduce yourself like this is a guitar solo, because it's quite a, again, it lends itself to that chaotic, erratic kind of style.
Yeah. It works because you're like literally, you're starting with the root and the 7th, you know, the minor 7 note of that root. So it's got that kind of weird dissonance that a 7 chord has, and then you're bending that 7 up from minor 7 to from minor 7, major 7, and then octave. But it can't be perfect because you're bending it, so you still have that chorusy effect from the two notes playing together and not being like perfectly in tune with each other. So it just has that thick sound.
That's just an example that sounds a little bit similar to something that Bocchi might write with the unison bends. And again, you could include this with the tremolo picking if you wanted to go for something similar to this.
Sick.
Again, it sounds very Bocchi-like because these are techniques that is very commonly used in the Kesoku band songs. The final technique I like to talk about is not to do with left hand or right hand, though there is a little bit going on with the right hand.
I wonder who the actual guitarist is that
go over that.
composed
But it's actually to do with timing and rhythm. Obviously, rhythm is a massive part of music, and it often gets overlooked with especially newer guitar players where they just play and play and play and play and play and there's no pause.
So true.
A good analogy or example to look at with this is a brass instrument player. If you have someone playing the trumpet and they're playing with their breath, they can't just play and play and play forever. They have to pause and take breaths and inhale. This can be applied to guitar as well, just to really accentuate and emphasize when you are playing versus when you are resting the note. A good example of this is the live solo that she plays. So there are pauses there and there are rests where to fill the rest, we have this going on, which is this kind of length, like technique 5.5 is
muted.
You could just rest and pause the note like in Station Complex. If you remove the rests.
That's what makes Bocchi guitar so tasty to begin with, is just how cleanly it's played. Like he's talking about with the rhythm, it makes such a huge difference than just letting the notes ring out.
All the attitude and the rhythm and the energy is just gone compared to when you do this.
That's why they say silence is just as important as sound in music. The rests, the mutes, all that's what gives it the rhythm.
It really accentuates the beat and the rhythm and just gets your head moving a little bit more. And there we have it, guys. Those are the 5 key techniques that I believe every guitarist needs to be using to sound closer to Bocchi the Rock. Let me know down in the comments below what your favorite technique was. Maybe there's a technique that you'd never played before. I'd love to be able to know that I've actually helped you guys and not just rambled for however long showing you techniques that you already know. A massive thank you to everybody.
Dude, that was really cool. Fun to react to a guitar lesson too. Oh, I don't know. Probably playing that wrong. But thank you so much, Dragonfly, for sharing this one with us. It's kind of fun to, instead of just watching music, to do something that's engaging like this. So, anyway, thank you all so much